Tonight, the Assembly of First Nations Policy Forum opened with demonstrators trying to gain access to have a word with National Chief Perry Bellegarde.
So it's really important for the urban wildlife.
The Squamish Nation moves on plans to develop some of their reclaimed oceanfront property despite cries from non-Indigenous residents.
As long as I can do it. If I can't do it, I can at least show them how to do it. Right? Like he's learning.
And how a Mohawk man is living off the land on Kahnawake Mohawk Territory. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgen. Beginning in Quebec, where some 10,000 people have been displaced by flooding, the Mohawk Territory of Kahnawake has been able to keep most of the water at bay.
But they're not yet in the clear. Tom Fenario has the details.
Imagine the pressure per square foot over here. If this thing were to give out, it would be like putting your finger on a hose. Everything will come rushing in, and then the rest of the barrier would collapse.
After nearly a week of frantic sandbagging, Kahnawake Mohawk Territory has been able to hold off most of the flooding that has decimated parts of southwestern Quebec.
Thousands of sandbags, lots and lots of man hours.
Grand Chief Serge Simon says the community has evacuated about a dozen homes that have been or are in immediate danger of being flooded. Still, he considers that a victory compared to the 2017 floods.
This place a year and a half ago was under what? About a foot and a half, 2 feet of water?
The scene in 2017 was certainly much worse. Now that major floods have become a semi-regular occurrence, Simon says that either major infrastructure needs to be built or the federal government needs to allocate funds to relocate displaced community members, something that's easier said than done on Indigenous land.
Our rights are tied to the lands we occupy, and if we get displaced because of climate change, what's going to happen? We don't have a reservation B.
But long-term solutions will have to wait for now. Kahnawake is not out of the woods yet. More rain is in the forecast, and they expect to be watching water levels for at least 2 more weeks. Simon says they have enough sandbags to raise the barrier, but that a strong wind can make his finger in a hose analogy come true.
With the pressure, the wind, we're hanging on by a thread.
Tom Fenario, APTN National News, Kahnawake Mohawk Territory.
And best of luck to them. To BC now, where a First Nation is proposing to build 3,000 affordable rental units in downtown Vancouver. If it goes ahead, it will be the first time a First Nation in Canada embarks on such a venture. Here's Tina House with more.
Located just off the Burrard Street Bridge is the Kitsilano Reserve of the Squamish Nation, also known as IR number 6. It's oceanfront and is some of the most valuable plots of land in a city that's overrun with multi-million-dollar high-rise condos. And this is where the Squamish Nation wants to build 3,000 affordable housing units. Craig Shirlett works in the area and says it's a great idea.
I'm very much for it. I'm excited to see the plans develop and see where things go.
Kel Seelam from the Squamish Nation says not only will it bring in revenue for the nation, but it's an opportunity to help.
So much of the city over the last few decades has been on condo and single detached houses. But there's a huge need when we have less than 1% vacancy rate in Vancouver and renters that are really struggling.
However, getting to this point is overshadowed by a dark past. In 1876, the Joint Indian Reserve Commission allotted 6 Indian reserves in Vancouver and along the North Shore, the Kitsilano Reserve being one of them. It was on the site of an ancient Squamish village called Sanok, and this is what it looks like today. But back in the early 1900s, this is what the village of Sanok looked like then.
And in 1913, there was a community of Squamish people living there that were evicted by the city of Vancouver and the province and the federal government as a result of the development that they wanted to do in the area.
Given only 2 days to pack their belongings, over 60 men, women and children were loaded onto this small barge and towed into North Vancouver. Their houses were destroyed during the relocation, and the provincial government paid each member $11,250 to sell the land. However, at an inquiry a few years later, it was found that the government coerced them to sell, and it was illegal.
As a part of the battle to get the lands back and returned to us from the federal government, we took them to court in one of the lengthiest court battles in Canadian history.
In 2002, the Squamish won that lawsuit and were awarded $92.5 million, and this 11.7 acres just below the Burrard Street Bridge. Mayor of Vancouver, Kennedy Stewart, says what happened historically was wrong.
Literally, people kicked off the land, houses burned to the ground. That is just, you know, we look at that with a lot of shame, and but also with an opportunity to make up for that. What else can you say? Discriminatory act.
And as far as the city of Vancouver goes, he says it's really up to the Squamish Nation.
This is reserve land, and so the city has no jurisdiction over planning. We will have to come to some agreement about service provision, but otherwise, this is totally in the hands of the Squamish Nation.
But not all residents are happy about the development.
So that's the last little section of urban forest. The eagles have a nest in that forest. And then also there's a coyote den. So it's really important for the urban wildlife.
This Squamish welcome figure stands proudly on the reserve boundary, and one day the Squamish hope that it will welcome renters into their new rental units. The next phase is a referendum for the nation, and artist renderings should be created in a few months. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Youths in one Mi'kmaq community are peeling, slicing, and chopping vegetables as part of a pilot program that brings them together with elders and teaches them about healthy eating and food security. Angel Moore has that story.
1, 2, 3.
Here in Wagimaw First Nation, youth are connecting with their elders. Louis Joe Bernard's home is full of his life's memories, memories that youth can learn from.
It's a reconnectivity. The reconciliation part, you know, if we're going to reconcile with the rest of Canada, we got to start in our own backyard, which is the youths.
He says that connection is so important that he's participating in a program coordinated by his daughter, Nadine Bernard. The Legacy Leaders Elder and Youth Food Program is a 7-week pilot project.
And so it was to link our elders and our youth together in a natural process of teaching sacred teachings. So the 7 sacred teachings through visiting, food literacy, and just by bringing in food.
The program teaches youth the importance of nutrition and addresses food insecurity.
If I'm living alone and prepare myself, I just open a can of food, which is condensed food, and it's no good, it's poison. But these youths, when they bring food, I know it's healthy and I know it's being prepared the proper way. And
the pre-prepped meals can be cooked later in the week.
So each week we bring the kids together for 2 hours and they food prep meals. So they cut and slice and dice all the vegetables. We pack them together in food prep meals and they deliver them to their elders.
The visits to elders are for more than just dropping off food.
So in some of the visits, they're teaching the youth how to make a medicine pouch, basket making, tufting. They're going to go fishing, which is really great. Gardening, working outside your community.
Veda Gugu knows how to make her own medicine pouch now.
It's good because it's just talking to your elders and learning what they have been through and stuff. And it's really good to learn about what they did, like medicine pouches.
Adria Gugu says she's learning about culture and history.
And we're like losing our language, and like more of the youth, like my age around, need to like learn more.
Friendships are building between the youth and elders.
I'm very happy to know these 2 young girls, and feel honored that they have come to visit me, and I hope they come again, drop in, and someday I'll cook something and we can all share some food, and it won't be junk food.
Nadine says connecting generations will impact the future.
Resilience, like overcoming barriers. It doesn't matter what it is, but You're talking with youth who are between the ages of 12 and 17, which are key ages for influence into their adult years.
A feast is planned on the last week of the program for the youth and elders to share their experiences. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Waigama First Nation.
Great program. Coming up, we spend a day with Dirt McCumber, a man who lives off the land.
And we'll take you to the AFN Forum in Edmonton, where the number of protesters easily equaled the number taking part inside. But first, a look at Thursday's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, 11 with showers for Halifax, 13 and rain in Fredericton. +3 under cloudy skies with showers for Nain and Happy Valley, Goose Bay. +9 in Montreal and Quebec City, 10 above under sunny skies for Saguenay. 17 and rain in Toronto, 11 with showers for Ottawa. +4 in Wawa, a rain-snow mix for Thunder Bay and a high of 5. 13 in Thompson and Norway House, 9 above in God's Lake. 12 with rain for Winnipeg and Gimli, 16 under sunny skies for Dauphin, 11 with a rain-snow mix for Saskatoon, 14 and showers in Regina, 5 with snow in Meadow Lake and La Ronge.
Welcome back. There was drama today at an Assembly of First Nations Policy Forum in Edmonton, where chiefs, elders, and grassroots people demonstrated against Canada's handling of the joint review of federal policies dealing with First Nations rights. APTN's Justin Brake was there.
Even before the forum started, there was anger and protest against the federal government's review of 4 key First Nations policies. Outside, chiefs addressed hundreds who turned out from Treaty 6, 7, and 8 territories.
The government has taken away the authority of the people, the true right holders in Canada. They're domesticating everything that we own. They're domesticating us as each day goes by. And I wonder when we'll all wake up as warriors. The warriors of the past, the warriors that allowed us to be here today, the warriors that signed treaty, made treaty.
After the Trudeau government's attempt at an Indigenous rights legislative framework failed, Canada said it will look at replacing inherent rights and comprehensive land claims policies. One document circulating from Crown Indigenous Relations indicated the government wants to have new policies in place by June. Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett's office told APTN they will take the time to get it right. Demonstrators entered the assembly, saying the government is trying to terminate Indigenous rights that predate Confederation.
Clearly they're trying to domesticate our inherent Indigenous rights and treaty and under their policies, which our land rights are not under their policies. They're trying to domesticate us through a process, and they've been doing that since the settlers came into our territories.
The message rang loud and clear. AFN leaders can't sign away the inherent rights of the children and future generations.
Take a look at my grandson. Take a good look at him. This is whose rights you're signing away. Don't sell out his future. No consent.
AFN National Chief Perry Bellegarde said the AFN is listening and agrees.
I would say they're saying the same things we're saying. First Nations people are saying the same thing, that it has to be First Nations led. It has to be the rights and title holders saying that. That's what I, as National Chief, am saying. That's what our AFN chiefs are saying in Assembly. We're also saying and agreeing that June is too tight a time frame. So we're saying the same things. So we have to work together collectively to make sure we get things done in a proper manner.
Leaders say if First Nations can unite, they have a better chance of protecting their rights. As for reconciliation, some believe the government has a long way to go.
There is no reconciliation because they don't even know where it started. They haven't even consulted any of us. None, ever. They stole our land. They stole our identity.
The forum continues Thursday, where Bennett will address the AFN. Justin Brake, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Eric McCumber lives in a community located right on the south shore of Montreal, Kahnawake. But it doesn't stop him and his youngest son from fishing on the St. Lawrence River and hunting to provide for the family. Sophie Claude Miller spent a day with the last Kahnawake Mohawks that live off that land.
Oh, we're pretty good there, River. We're good.
The man, well known by his nickname, Dirt, is a very busy man. His days start early so he can harvest as much as possible. He will either eat what he catches or sell it to make a revenue.
Let's start the show. So this is where my nets generally are. I start from those two posts. I put my anchor there, and I try to line up this lamp post and come on the inside. See the current? So this is a back end. It goes back to water. So I try to put the net in the split there. You know where between the calm and the fast, that, and it's full of sturgeon here, full. This is where I catch a lot of. If I put the nets here, I could catch 40 a day right here. You know, big time. They don't catch in the shade, right? As far as I know.
Yeah, no.
Here, that's why I try to explain to people is that if you utilize the river and what's up and around it, you know, of course you can't get cornflakes here, but you know you could get good food, eh? Yeah, you know what I mean? And people are missing that.
For this Mohawk family, these traditional activities are being passed from generation to generations.
And so you started like hunting and fishing when you were a kid?
Fishing, really, with my dad, yeah.
Okay.
When I was about maybe 10, 11, 12, you know, I was with my dad a lot. In the Quebec government's eyes, this is up to here, but I don't acknowledge that. This river is all ours.
For Dirt, sharing the traditional ways to his children is an important part of the cultural heritage.
I'm going to try to, as long as I can do it. If I can't do it, I can at least show them how to do it, right? Like his learning. Okay, River, you walk down. Walk down. See, you'll be able to see. Okay, River, back right up you. Back right up to the, yeah, there you go. Okay. You'll see if you could. Okay, hold on, River. Yeah, okay, see the bubbles? See, I'm gonna keep this guy.
Because that's what they are in our way, we say.
His son, River Flo McCumber, makes good use of all the knowledge and values his father can pass on to him.
The main ones, it's all eco-friendly. It's all with the balance of the way the world works. So I guess anything, we take, we have, I guess the utmost respect for, and people say like, oh, people would, I was shooting geese and selling them. They're like, no, you shouldn't do that, because some people would say it, goes against traditional values and stuff. But what I think goes against traditional values is not hunting the geese at all and letting that knowledge and stuff fade away. So, just like my dad, he's the only one who does his fishing.
On that side, eh?
For the two Mohawks, being out on the land is the true meaning of happiness, even if it means hard work.
Again, there's so much to offer this little piece, Again, look, we're right across from Montreal. It's like almost like a sanctuary here. Yeah, I'm happy, you know what I mean? I'm happy some of my bills are paid. Yeah, I'm happy.
Sophie Claude Miller, APTN National News, Kahnawake.
What I mean, so.
Still to come, highlights from today's episode of InFocus, where we sat down with a criminologist to discuss truck stop killers.
But before the break, look at the rest of Thursday's weather forecast. Picking back up in northern Alberta, snow and a high of +3 for high level, snow and +7 in Fort McMurray, 11 with showers for Medicine Hat, sunny skies and 7 above in Edmonton. Sunny and 16 for Vancouver and Victoria, 20 in Penticton. +3 with snow for Fort Nelson, showers, and 9 in Dease Lake, 14 in Smithers, -3 in Old Crow, sunny, and +3 in Mayo. -2 for Fort Liard, Fort Simpson, and Trout Lake with snow on the way. -8 in showers for Sax Harbor, sunny skies, and 9 below for Paulatuck. -3 in Baker Lake, -2 in Chesterfield and Whale Cove, 0 for Clyde River, -1 in Joe Haven.
Indigenous women and girls are disproportionately among those who go missing or turn up murdered. Overwhelmingly, they're killed by someone they know, and often those killers are caught. But there is data that shows a link to major highways and to long-haul truckers, and those crimes often go unsolved. In today's In Focus, we looked at that and the broader issue that there are indeed serial killers among us, probably many more than any of us think. Here's some highlights from that discussion.
So we know, for instance, there's already been very good research on the role of the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest generally in both the U.S. and in Canada, which helps explain a lot of patterns that are seen in lower mainland BC and in the Highway of Tears region, even in the northern interior, you don't see anywhere else. So that's already been well established, and we see that when we input all the data at murderdata.org, and we see both coasts light up, we see the DC metro region and sort of the Great Lakes region light up. And we see major trucking centers light up, specifically places that otherwise don't have a lot of violent crime. So the Nashville to Oklahoma City corridor is, where a lot of major trucking operations are based, and you see that really light up. Again, we don't know for sure in Canada because no one will give us the data. No one will share the data. But my guess is you're going to see, for sure, the West Coast. You'll see Edmonton up to Fort Mac. That's already well established. Will you see the East Coast represented as much as in the U.S.? My guess is not, but certainly Manitoba through to Northern Ontario, down through the Golden Horseshoe into the Greater Toronto area as well. And it actually seems to be an even bigger problem than we knew about. Yeah. So what we found is only about half, coast to coast in the United States, half of all homicides of First Nations victims are properly reported as homicides. The rest go missing and are miscategorized as either accidental deaths or suicides, which squares with some of the stories that we heard about during the inquiry where they were just sort of written off as runaways, and then maybe they're found later on and, oh, this must have been death by misadventure or something like that. What people don't know is in the United States, all deaths get investigated by the Centers for Disease Control and medical people there, and they rule them frequently homicides where police made bad calls.
There's a lot of fascinating information and data in that.
Creepy show for sure.
It was very creepy, but informative. Good. You can watch that entire episode of InFocus on our website, aptnnews.ca/InFocus, or you can tune in back here tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central, when it re-airs. That's your news for this Wednesday. I'm Melissa Ridgen.
And I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.